Don't mind if I do.
Oh yeah, no, it's definitely way faster.
Welcome to Po Boys. This is the final video of me installing an LSA Supercharger on my 5.3 LS swapped drifting New Edge Mustang. If you just have an LS engine and want to supercharge it, or even if you don't have an LS engine, this is an emotional roller coaster of a video, and at the end there's even a surprise that no one saw coming, or at least I didn't. My goal is to show you what I learned during the process without skipping steps and keeping it entertaining. If you haven't seen the previous videos, go watch those and then you'll be caught up to where we are now because I've filmed so much. Over 27 hours of footage to sort through, and it all led up to this, my longest video ever. Again, huge thank you to Gavin, It's Just a Six, for making these videos possible because he surprised me with the supercharger in the first place. As well as sponsors like Boost District, Evil Energy, Alloyworks, and more. Their info will be in the description if you want the parts that you see in this video. But either way, grab some popcorn, sit back, and please enjoy the video because I worked hard on it.
All right, guys, the last thing, full system at least, that we need to put on here is the fuel system. And that means fuel pump, that means filter, that means fuel rails, that means the lines, all the fittings, and the injectors. The whole entire fuel system needs to be dealt with, so we're going ahead and start with doing it. We got AN lines, of course, we got PTFE, and it is 8 AN. So that is what we're going with, is an 8 AN line. That should be able to flow enough fuel for my horsepower application. This should be good enough for like 800, if not even more than that. Maybe even 1,000 off of these lines right here. And this pump right here can pump definitely more than that. On top of these 1200cc injectors right here, which these things are complete units. Holy crap, that's a giant injector. But either way, 1200 cc's is a lot of fuel. So we need to go ahead and put these injectors in the rails and put the rails in the car. But one thing that I did notice is these Alloyworks fuel rails are set to work out great. Nothing is supposed to be a problem with these Alloyworks fuel rails. However, I'm not running my fuel system like an average fuel system. I'm gonna run it like a return system because that's how I have my car plumbed right now. So from the tank to the filter, here to this pump right here, and then that will go in right here to a T. That T will go to this and that of the rail on either side. Those will go in, turn around 180. This will return back and then T back into the regulator. The regulator will then go down, and then that will be the return line that goes all the way back to the tank. I've seen with a lot of drag cars that this is how you run your fuel system in order to keep the coolest fuel. So this should be the most optimal setup for what we have going on here. I don't know if this is the best, but this is what I'm doing. However, Alloyworks designed this to be like the LS9 fuel rail. The LS9 fuel rail is pretty sweet, but the problem is it has one feed and there's no return. And these fuel rails are supposed to be a just single in. My car has a return system. So I'd be kind of working in the wrong direction because return systems are superior. Essentially, I'm taking this, taking it off, and then the byproduct is I have to do a little bit more work, but thanks to Evil Energy and Alloyworks, we can get the best style fuel system, a whole return style system instead of a returnless, and we cannot have boiling fuel, which is great for any situation. So without further ado, let's go ahead and crack into it. All right, guys, let's get these fuel rails on there. And they sit in place just like this. All right, here we go. So this right here is why you should like and subscribe to the video, because if you haven't done it yet, it's really just a button click away, and it really helps me out a whole bunch. So I would appreciate it if you do, and it would help push it out to a whole bunch of people that need to do this to their car. So people need to learn how to do this to their car, so let them watch this video. However, the point that I was getting at is that you never would realize that this ain't gonna work until you realize that it ain't gonna work, if that makes any sense. This is where a fitting goes out, and that is in the way, you know, but not for long. If you didn't get a good enough angle on the GoPro, here you are now. Obviously there's a fitting there, and that fitting is supposed to go out if I want to run this the way I want to set it up, because this is going to go to my T, but this is in the way. However, if you look, it's not really attached to much anything structural at all. So that fin is gonna probably get chopped. It's a little bit of extra work that we have to go through that's worth having a better system. Ultimately, that's what we want, is the best fuel system possible. We want to have everything set up so that way whenever we want to turn up power, it's just as easy as getting a bigger supercharger pulley for this and a smaller pulley for this. And we're making all the boost, baby. All right, we'll try that. All right, guys, well, things escalated stupid quickly. You know how I needed to cut off these tabs? They're ready to cut. Well, at least this one is, because we've got everything blocked off, on all the nice shiny stuff blocked off, hopefully, that it won't go through. And we need to cut this down. First item of business is figure out what we're gonna cut it with. Is it this guy? You know, that might actually be the best angle of attack. I hate to say it, but the mother freaking Sawzall is the best angle of attack that I have currently to cut my LSA Supercharger so I can fit fuel rails on it, you know? Casual issues. This is stuff people deal with in shops. Whenever you need to cut your LSA Supercharger, you just grab this thing, you know? That's all, that's all. So if I go straight down from right here, we're good. That's actually pretty intimidating. Yeah, that's gonna be about the scariest thing in the whole entire world, and we're gonna have to cut that whole thing down. All right, I'll let it cool off for a second. But we got a good cut in there. It looks like we haven't punctured anything that we shouldn't have. So we're good so far. Cross our fingers. All right, let's finish her off. Oh yeah? I'm saving this. That's a piece of my supercharger right there. Big piece, not hot. Little piece, hot. So all the heat got transferred into this piece, which is okay because we're getting rid of this. However, the big piece, the heat kind of dispersed throughout. You ever just cut off a piece of your supercharger? Same. Occasionally. Okay, I'm reloading. All right, so I low-key want to see if I have enough room to fit right now. If I can fit a fitting there, then we'll call that golden. It looks like it might clear. Nah, that actually clears all the way. Let's go. And just like that, we have a fuel rail that goes around the LSA Supercharger. That's clearanced enough. And that's all we needed, was clearanced enough. I'm actually really happy with that. Now let's go do the other side. Ooh, that was a good cut right there. That's gonna be stupid easy to radius. I'll take it, and then I'll smooth that down, cut that in, and we'll call that a day. That's a chunk of an LSA Supercharger right there, ladies and gentlemen. That's perfect, dude. Oh my gosh, it's perfect. So that means I just cut off random pieces of my supercharger, and somehow, at the end of the day, my random cuts that I've been doing all managed to work out. It looks like we're gonna have billet fuel rails on this daggum LSA for once and for final. And it really wasn't even that hard to do. However, on the car, it's a lot more intimidating. I would have much rather done that with the supercharger off. But now I've got these little supercharger pieces that I can just have. And now this is my LSA. You know, this is my supercharger right here. A piece of the supercharger. And it hasn't even blown up yet. In fact, it hasn't even turned on yet. Let's go ahead and clean everything up here, get some injectors inside those fuel rails, and then we'll put the fuel rails in for final. All right guys, it's fuel system time. So what I did was I got all the fittings that I would need to get and lined them all up. So all I need to do now is take this line right here, measure it, and connect the dots. This is pretty much the setup that we've got going on right here, and it's pretty simple. The feed comes from here, that'll go through this, then this to here, and then that'll go in. The fuel pressure sensor will be right here. This will be clocked a little bit different so that way it'll fit whenever it's actually in there, but the fuel pressure sensor will go there. Then there'll be a line in between there to the fuel rails. This will turn around, go to the fuel pressure regulator, which will tie here and here from both sides of the rails. And then this fitting will go on the bottom side, which is two fittings right here. This will go on the bottom side, and then that will lead back to the return of the tank, which will return with this fitting right here. So everything's dialed in, lined up, good to go. All we gotta do is start cutting and making fittings. So strap on the GoPro, we go. All right, well, my GoPro decided to stop recording and freeze and not tell me about it. So I don't know what you guys didn't see or what you did see, but I put fittings inside of this fuel rail and I also put 2 fuel injectors in. It's a pretty simple process. It's just as simple as taking some oil, dabbing it around the O-ring right there, getting it nice and lubricated. And you put it inside of the rail like so. You gotta make sure that O-ring didn't pinch and roll. There's 2 different things it can do. It can roll or pinch. And if either happen, then it's not good. It needs to be perfectly straight and flush so you have a good seal for your fuel. All right, so the injector is in place. And just like that, that is one of the fuel rails. But it also has injectors on it, which makes me happy because those are now 4 more holes plugged in the top of the engine. Ooh, it looks great. Injectors in on that side. Now we gotta get the other rail set up. Same thing like before. A little bit of persuasion juice, never helps. I mean, never doesn't help, always does help. Oh yeah, they go right in. Make sure they're bottomed out. And then you can tighten your rail. Fuel rails and 1200cc injectors casually installed. That's some fuel injector clinic injectors right there. Dude, that's crazy. We got the LSA cut, so now the fuel rails actually fit in place. And that was one of the scariest parts about this thing, was cutting those out of the way so those fit. But those fit perfectly and the car looks great. And the fuel system is getting there. She'll be running here soon. She'll be doing what she needs to do. It's just another day, a little bit more work. But when everything's custom, there is a little bit of work involved. It's just getting it done, making sure everything's right. All right guys, so we need to go ahead and mount this fuel pressure regulator here, and this is going to be the centerpiece for all the fuel lines. One feed's gonna go here, one feed's gonna go here, and the return's gonna go here. And then this screw will hold it at whatever pressure we wanna set it at, and this will be our vacuum reference, which will basically give us more fuel pressure based off more vacuum. I may just take the whole entire thing and move it behind the supercharger. And if I do that, then I can have one line go from underneath, it'll loop from here, this fitting right here, go around, and then it will fit into that hole right there, and then the other side will do the same exact thing as a mirrored image. So we need to get this mounted up there somehow. Just gotta figure out the best way to do that. I'm gonna run this piece, cut it there, and this piece radius from here. And off to the cutting machine. All right guys, I have a GoPro Hero 10 and this sucks. It just stopped recording, so I don't know what I missed out on and I don't know what I did record, so I'm gonna update you guys. I put this regulator in place and then I put this line down in place and I mounted it here, and this line's gonna go here back to the regulator, and I also measured for the line on the other side. And all I did was just put the line in place and then line it up to this, which is about rough place where the regulator is gonna go. But it is time to grab this fitting and we're going to be putting this on next.
Last night in my memories, it came up. We were sitting on the shop floor with that first LS you built.
Really?
And it was just like, just a change of scenery, bro. It was cool.
Yeah, in the old shop, goofy lighting,
Crusty
like
everything.
crusty everything, dirt on everything. Damn, yeah, how the times have changed, golly. And then the cool thing about these lines is like, so this line has a bend, right? You can take both the fittings and you can adjust them after they're tight. And you can adjust the line to bend in the way that you want it to. It's just small things like that, that like, this is why AN lines are worth. You don't want a fuel line breaking on you, which is why we'll run these ANs, call it a day, and not have to worry about it. So I found out if you spin it the wrong way, it won't go on.
Really?
Believe it or not.
That's crazy.
Isn't it?
I don't know, dude. If you tried for like 30 more minutes, it could go on.
It was one of those fun facts that I just recently found out. This is the fuel line for the backside, and the way this works, it'll be all this plus a feed, and then the backside will have a fuel pressure sensor right here. It seriously could not have been a better fit. Golly. Wow, that's a lot of stuff going on down there.
Fits perfectly though.
It does fit perfect, actually. Solid. Yeah, we take the wins. We take the cut once and make it work. All right, guys, so here's the full fuel system right here, and if you could tell, there's a 90 degree right there and a 90 degree right there. One will be my feed and one will be my return, and those lines will go down where the stock fuel rails went and feed off to the side. So now that is a feed and return. All I gotta do now is tighten all these fittings, get that mount all the way into place, and then the fuel system will be done on the supercharger side of this. Then we run back and then do all the car stuff. So as far as LSA stuff goes, that's how I'm gonna run the fuel system, and I'll show you guys how I do everything back. But if you have a different car, it'll obviously be a little bit different. Man, I really dig this. That's a fuel system done right, the way you actually should do a fuel system. Everything that I've seen, you should have a return system, a full pass through, and the way that the LSA system is stock is not it. Just again, this is the way we have it routed. You can kind of see what's going on there. We have fuel go in through that one side, Y is off, goes through all the rails, turns around, back to the regulator. Same thing on the other side as well, and it is a mirror image, which is the best thing. We have a mirror image fuel system, so we'll have even fuel on all the sides. And since it's a return style system, we'll always have fuel. The fuel will always stay cold. We won't have any boiling issues, and it should also deliver all the fuel we would ever need because we can regulate the amount of pressure we have off the ginormous pump that we got right here. So we got a winning strategy. I'm gonna go ahead and get that regulator mounted in place, and then we'll go from there. Rails and injectors, did that. Steam vent 2 of 2. That is in front of fuel system / fuel lines. Don't know who the guy that wrote this was, but I guess we're gonna do it in the order of the instructions. So we're gonna get the steam vent in, and this is the Alloyworks steam vent kit. I'm gonna go ahead and try this out and see how it works. It's the same company that makes the fuel rails. So I'm gonna piece this out, so if you guys buy this kit, you know how to put it together because there was no instructions. So let me be your instructions. All right. So this is how these lines are gonna be put together. This line is gonna connect here and here, if that makes any sense. And then this line is going to go from here to the top of the radiator cap. Plop, right there. I'm gonna have to tap that in. And we put these into the steam vent ports that we had put in earlier before we installed the supercharger. It's one that you can't see, it's back there. All right, there's one. And now we have the end of it right here. We'll put this underneath the supercharger. All right guys, so I went ahead and got the steam vent in place. It actually was correct. I just had it clocked a little differently than it was willing to go. But if you angle it such like this, then it actually will work out perfect. So I'm gonna go ahead and tighten this. And now it's all tight and clear of the head. So it looks like we're good to go. Steam vent is good up front. Now I gotta tighten the mounts in the back, and all we're doing is connecting the head lines. There's 4 different spots on the heads where it can release pressure, because normally that air is inside of the heads and it can't get out. So it's just a ton of hot pressure, and normally that blows up head gaskets. So this basically just kind of saves you from having a whole bunch of pressure up top whenever there's a lot of heat. So if it does overheat, we'll have a fail-safe, and it will drain directly into the radiator, so there won't be any issues. The only reason I went ahead and did this now is because since we're gonna be putting fuel lines up top, this would have been a lot harder to get to if there was a fuel line right here. The engineers thought of this, man. All right, steam vent 2 to 2. That is checked off. And then this last line, this line goes from here, and that's gonna route down to the radiator. So this will essentially go like that. Steam vent installed. All right, so I've decided I'm gonna go ahead, throw the harness in, just throw it to the side. It would be a little too difficult to try and put it underneath the supercharger because I would need to get some extensions for my coils, and I don't wanna get extensions right now. I'll just make it run and put it over here, and I can make it cleaner in a later video. Goes to the throttle position sensor. Intake air control. All right, coolant temp sensor. Manifold air temperature. And this is a Holley kit, so I don't need to adapt my injectors to EV6 because they already are EV6 injectors. I'll plug that in. And 7. All right, so now all the injectors are plugged in. Dang, that came together pretty quick. All right, so this is the final fuel line that I've got here, and everything is tight and in place, so all we can do now is take it and install it. That is totally wicked. Now we can monitor fuel pressure. So we'll grab this one. And same thing with the other line. Holy cow, that looks really insane. So that's fuel system installed, fuel rails up on there, billet fuel rails that is, thank you Alloyworks. Fuel pressure regulator back there. Dang. Well, now we have to go do the main ones. So we'll take those 90-degree fittings, which will be this one and this one, and we'll go this way because we're done with everything here. We just need to run those 90s down and then run these lines for the fuel pump and the filter, and then we'll be done with the fuel system. This section out, which will be easy. All right, heck yeah, tech deck. Time to go play some professional tech deck. We have one of these lines. This is gonna be our feed line. This is gonna be our return line. So what we're gonna do, grab these. All right, that's done for the top side. Now let's lift this thing up. Let's finish the fuel system on the bottom side. grab the fuel filter out of here. So basically, what I'm seeing is a wee bit of persuasion and she breaks free. That goes on the parts that I'm not using no more. Stock fuel lines for the Mustang. We do not use them, not today. And then from there, hard line is removed. Old fuel filter, new fuel filter. For a little bit of perspective. Old fuel line, new fuel line. Old fuel line diameter. Do you want even more? How about this? The whole line can just fit inside of the new line's inner diameter. So this can flow a lot more fluid than that, obviously. So that's why we're taking these out. These don't need to be in there, taking up weight, space, etc. They are trash. All right guys, so the fuel lines that we have came down, and we have them running down this direction, tied off and out of the way, and they go up here. They follow this vacuum line. Where the initial fuel line went in, that's where they follow. We pulled the first fuel line out, and then we have them right here tied off. Now they're just an empty edge ready to go into the fuel tank, so we need to adjust the fuel tank system. I forgot this was a new Edge Mustang, so we can't just put the fuel pump in line because it would just scrape and there's not much room to put it. Plus there's a whole big exhaust and a drive shaft there, so it would kind of be a hard process to fit it down here, so we're gonna have to fit it back here. What I'm thinking we're gonna do is take out this crash bar real quick, and then once we get the crash bar out, we can mount the pump maybe on this spare tire rack right here, and we can put the bolts on the other side, so we can bolt that in, and then also have the filter there, and then run towards that line, and then the return will just go in straight to this fitting right here. This is a CPP Performance fitting. I got it on eBay a while ago, and it basically is just a tap fitting that you can put in, and it turns a hole into a fitting, and I'll just use that. And this is a 6AN fitting. I'll swap that to an 8AN fitting. So let's lower the car down, let's get the rear bumper off and get the crash bar off. All right, now I've got exhaust mounted and the bumper off. We'll get this rear end all cleaned up and then mount that fuel pump probably right there. All right guys, so what I have done here is got this fuel pump mounted slightly into place. It's just a soft mount for right now. I'm gonna take these bolts out. These are just self-tappers. I'm gonna go ahead and make holes for these as well. Also add a spacer because it's a little bit different size. I tightened the filter pre-pump, so this filter should be good to tighten straight onto that line, and now we have to run a line from here out and then a line from there out. This needs to be the feed from the tank. So the tank's gonna pick up right here, and this goes to the fuel rails. So essentially, and that needs to meet there. That goes to the return on the tank. We make the extra spare line from the feed on the tank to the feed right here, which will loop around right there. I'll probably put this fitting here. All right, now we need to get the tank up in place and see if it will fit without any bit of massaging. We might need to do a little bit of massaging. All right, this is my favorite part, the part where we get to clearance. And if you see on the last side, this is where my 6AN fitting was, and it was rubbing right there. So we get to clearance this a little bit. That should fit an AN fitting perfect, to be honest with you. That should be like actually perfect. All right, if you guys are wondering why I was smacking the bottom of my car with a hammer, it's because I needed these fittings to fit. And if you see now they fit perfectly. There's nothing gonna be in their way, and the tank is all the way up, butted against the car. So the tank's even gonna drop down another like ½ inch. So we've got more than enough room, more than enough clearance. We can run our return line. That line's gonna go directly to that 90-degree fitting, which, wow, that's getting close, and that'll be finished. We have to run that line right here to the intake right here. So that line's just gonna come in and out like that, like super smooth. And then this line is going to be the feed, which means this line right here, what marked green, is going to be the feed side, and this is going to go right here with a 90-degree fitting. So hopefully this whole fuel system will be together, and I'm surprised we made it all fit. Just had to use the back of the car, which works out either way. Sweet. That's a feed to the rails right there. Now I just gotta run this to this, basically. Tight, tight, tight. Oh, that's tight in there. Tanks in the car. That's a finished fuel system right there. We dig that. Fuel system done. Hell yeah. This pump alone can pump 2,000 horsepower. And Gavin is just like, yo, you need a pump? Here, you could use this one. 2,000 horsepower of fuel is what this pumps. So thank you very much, Gavin. I don't think I'll ever have a problem needing fuel ever in my life. This thing has the most amount of it now. So hopefully we'll be able to do fine. Here's those lines on this side. Dang, I'm so excited. This thing's coming together. Need to find the most important tool. One more thing marked off the list. Now we have some easier stuff from here. That's what I would call a finished fuel system right there. So the parts are dwindling down that I have. There's still more stuff that we have to install, but these are the last few things that I have. So I want to go ahead and get this on. This is a ZL1 brake booster cable, and I got this off of Rock Auto for like $8, and I'm gonna modify it to make it fit. So I have some tools, and we're gonna make this fit on the car. And the way that these work, you sit it down there, hook it there, and then I'll have to hook it here. So what I see is, I'll cut it down an inch, and then from here, I'll probably cut this down right there too. And then we'll call that good. I'm just gonna measure none and cut 2 times and we'll be good. I swear it's gonna work. Is the brake booster fitting? We'll put the clamp on that so it doesn't go anywhere. There it is, and it fits in place. There it goes, oh my gosh. Okay. Oh my gosh. It's looking great. We got ZL1 parts on this thing. A whole bunch of them actually. This whole pulley drive system. Dang straight. Lid. Ooh. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is, this has been my ground. So I'm gonna just clean that up. That is a clean ground right there. So we're gonna go ahead and bolt this to it. Ground. I'm gonna get the bolt tightened for the alternator. All right, alternator works. So if you've LS swapped your car before, you have a 1-pin alternator and you have wires to run to it. I have a main 12-volt wire that goes to the alternator, and the alternator also powers this and this. So we have 2 different pins on that, and dang, she's coming together pretty nicely. Alternator's plugged in now. So what else do we have here? Wire injectors, MAF. Well, we're not using MAF, so we'll say MAP, because we're using MAP. Alternator, injectors, fuel pump, coolant pump. That's the last 2 things we got to wire up. All I got to do is tighten these. So that's going to be the heater, and the catch can I also mounted right here too. I'm going to run that and this with a hose whenever I get some more hose. I'm also going to get a belt, Gates green belt, 8 rib, and then also figure out a way to mount the water overflow tank, because that's also another valid issue that we've got. I got to figure out a spot to put this guy right now. Oh my gosh. All right, so this right here is the water neck and thermostat we're going to be using in this car. This is a 160 degree thermostat. And what we have to remember is that this points up. This is your steam port right here, or your steam vent for the thermostat. That always needs to be pointing as up as possible. When we put that in, we just gotta remember to keep that orientation correct. And then we can put our bolts in place. Bam.
All right, guys, Evil Energy went out and sent some more stuff. They sent some vacuum line as well as some bigger size vacuum line. I think it's a 3/16 and 5/8 vacuum line. So what we're gonna do is go ahead and put these on the car. First one I used was this top piece right here. I used as a reference for the fuel regulator. So that will be the reference for the fuel regulator right there. It actually kind of tucks in nice and well. I used a zip tie back here and tucked it under the fuel rail, back behind, right to the regulator. That's where that one goes. This is the vacuum line for the Holly, so I might not use this one at all. And this is for the AC system. So I'll tie this probably to this right here. And then with the bigger line, I'll probably run the PCV here and PCV here to the valve cover on this side.
Side quest time, but it won't take long. What I'm doing is creating a radiator cone. I got this part designed from Creality's website and decided it would be perfect to use here. This is their K1 Max printer, and you'll definitely be seeing more of this on the channel. Thank you to Creality for sponsoring this printer, by the way. This thing is awesome. Why would I need a radiator comb, you ask? Because I had accidentally hit my heat exchanger with my kneecap and bent some fins on it. Thanks to cool tools like these, we can fix it with no problems at all. Thanks to Creality, something that's just an idea in your head can be turned into something in real life that can actually help you fix real world problems. You tell me if it worked or not.
How you feeling, Mr. Mer? This is Merlin, and Merlin's taking a fat chill on my car. He's essentially just an Air Force cat. Exactly, right? I went ahead and threw the radiator hoses on. I used the same one for the original LS swap on the bottom side, and it actually has more than enough room of clearance down there. That ain't gonna touch that balancer, and I just zip tied it out of the way, so even if I wanted to, that thing isn't moving towards the balancer and it's not gonna touch it. Then this upper hose, this one's not tied in place, but it's just a connection from here, a 90, and then a coupler to another 90 with a longer end, and those two hoses fit perfectly fine up top. And that's gonna be a full cooling system for us right there. That's both of the radiator hoses connected, and everything is connected to the LSA. So since we put the new water pump on there, that changed a little bit. Just had to extend this 90 a little bit, which really wasn't bad. This was the old hose that was on it. So we really did just have to get one that was a little bit longer than before, because the old water spout was right about here. But since the LSA is there, it moves it off to the side because there's pulleys in the way. Obviously the supercharger pulley's right here, so there's no water spout that can go in and out. So that pretty much finishes up the cooling system. So the radiator is now good to go. So we're good to go ahead and put some fluid in this thing. We'll go ahead and check that off the list. Coolant hoses. Call that a check. Line is pretty short now. Spark plugs, belt, fluids, and then power steering. So I've got a new pack of parts right here, but the one thing I want to do really bad, really freaking bad, is get the green Gates belt and throw it on the car, because this thing looks so good. I've already had it on there to make sure it fits. I'm gonna throw it on again because, man, I just need to see this thing on there. So it's a Gates KO80670HD if you're running this setup. If you guys are doing the same exact build, then that'll be the belt you need to get. All right, so we'll run that on the crank, around the idler, around that, around this. Yeah, all the way. All right, thank you. Here in place, and you can let go of it. As 42 Doug would say. Damn, that looks good. Damn, that looks great on there. I love the green belt. That's like the cherry on top of everything. It's the throttle body being red and then the belt being green. It just works out. So also I want to check out ignition. That's going to be spark plugs. We needed to get a step colder. So these are NGK TR6s. They're copper plugs. They're super cheap, but they're also colder, which is going to be better for our car, because since we're going boosted, you want a colder spark plug for it. And this right here, this is going to keep our spark plugs firing, because this is a ceramic coil boot right here, which goes over the plug, and this goes in between the headers. And since it's ceramic, this is gonna disperse the heat throughout itself, because this doesn't take the heat. This isn't gonna make the spark plug melt, basically, simply put. We're gonna put these on the car right now. That looks like a belt to me. So I'd say the belt's done. Spark plugs, they're in. So I'd say those are done as well. All right, guys, so it looks like everything on our list is done except for fluids, but they forgot. We do have power steering pump, route lines, and reservoir.
All right, guys, there's so much stuff that we've done, so many schematics, so many everything, and I'm just here to tell you that we're not done. We got power steering stuff to do. Comment in the comment section if you would like to, because I don't know if this is going to work, but I'm going to run a fat power steering cooler because it's a drift car. You might want to cool your power steering because it's going to be overheating a lot. So I figured might as well slap a giant cooler on there because I have the Evil Energy oil cooler. So I was like, you know what, might as well just repurpose that because I had to get this. This is a power steering reservoir, and there's no reservoir connected to this pump at all on the Boost District kit. So what we need to do is get a way to hold fluid in this system and then get this 6AN down to the 6AN lines right there on the rack. I'll drop the link for those in the description as well. If you don't know how to get those adapted to 6AN, because that did take me a little bit getting all these fittings figured out. But the biggest one is on the pressure side. You want to make sure that is a steel fitting and not aluminum. That's the big thing, is on all the pressure side stuff, you want to make sure you have steel fittings, which I'd be lying to you if I said it was steel, but it definitely is magnetic, so it's not aluminum. Same with this thing. Make sure all of your AN fittings are magnetic because aluminum's not magnetic. So these are going to handle a lot more pressure. Obviously, you need a lot more pressure of a line too. Same thing with the lines. So got to make sure you have a thicker metal on that because power steering has a lot of pressure. Everything else is going to be low pressure, so everything else should be fine with just aluminum fittings. Let me go ahead and show you guys the schematics so you can see what I'm going to do before I do it. Essentially, we're going to take the reservoir, mount that at the highest point in the system so that way the fluid level sits right about there. And then from there, it's going to go down to the front of the car, go into the cooler. It's going to cool all the fluid. These lines right here are going to be these lines from the oil cooler kit directly into the oil cooler from there. Now from the power steering pump, we're going to run this line that we made at the parts store, the high pressure line, and that's going to go down to the rack. The rack is going to be 6AN out, and then from there, we're just going to make a 6AN fitting and then run that line all the way back through the front of the car to the top fill of the reservoir. Then we should have a full system. So this is going to be 10 AM from the bottom side of the reservoir all the way to the pump, and then everything forward from the pump forward is going to be 6AN for return. So hopefully that makes it simple for you, and this is the schematic I'm going to use. Let's go ahead and make that real life. More so makes this power steering fluid reservoir that's baffled, and it has a 6AN return and a 10AN drain. Yeah, see the baffling in there? That's gonna hold the fluid in better place, so hopefully it drains, doesn't have any bubbles. So now all we gotta do is mount those lines, mount this cooler, and go from there. I'm thinking we're gonna put this, since the pump is here, cooler's here, and everything that's got a cap on it's over there. Intake's gotta go here. It would be so nice to just put it right there, and I really wish I could, but at the same time, the intake has to go somewhere. And probably put it up here. Probably put it there, obviously it'd be angled up straight, but essentially in that area, and then I'll run a 10AN line down here to the cooler, then a 10AN line from there, run to that port right there, which is 10AN, and then this 6AN fitting right here goes to the rack on the bottom side right there, and then the top side fitting goes all the way out and around to right here on that 6AN rack. So it's pretty simple, pretty straightforward. Let's make it happen. All right, guys, so on the last part of what we're doing is the power steering pump lines, and since that's boring, I went ahead and just made them automatically. So these are some 10AN lines, and this is a 6AN line, and this is a 6AN line that is high pressure. So essentially, let's take all these lines and connect them into our steering. This is really coming down to the wire. We really need to tighten these fittings for the power steering and then put the other fitted power steering line on, which is just connect the two connections there, fill her up with fluid. Dang straight. It's coming together so well. All right, guys, I got carried away. I put that line on, tightened everything, put that line on, tightened everything, put this line on, tighten that, put this line on, tighten this, put this line on, tighten that. And these two lines down here, those were already put on, but I tightened those too while I was at it. So that looks like a 100% complete full power steering system. So I got to zip tie this off to the side, zip tie a few lines out of the way, and we got power steering on this bad rig right here. That's kind of crazy. Power steering used to be kind of a scary thing for me because it's like one of those things that you have to have high pressure lines for, but damn, we really just made it super simple. All it takes is a schematic. Write it down on paper and see if it makes sense on paper, and if it does, run it, and if it's wrong, let the comments section tell you later on. And now, essentially, we just insert fluid here, which means that we did something right. All the electronics are plugged in. There's nothing that can short circuit anymore. Alternator's plugged in, radiators, fans plugged in, hoses connected. We need to put fluid in that. We need to put fluid in this. All these hoses are connected. Everything is tight. Everything's good to go. I think that's pretty much it. So with that being said,
Power steering pump, finished. Make lines, done. Route lines, done. Reservoir, done. Reservoir, make lines, route lines, to the pump, to the pump, to the rack. All right, so power steering is finished, which leads us to fluids, which we already got halfway started with this guy right here. Got that cooler in there. That thing's gonna do some hectic work. I am really enjoying this. This has been such a process putting a supercharger on this car, because it's not just as simple as a bolt-on supercharger, because this is a ZL1 supercharger and it needs a lot to fit on a 5.3 truck motor. But at the same time, it needs a little bit more to work on my custom stuff, because I've added a whole bunch of custom things here. Everything's gotta be AN line, everything's gotta be nice. So you gotta add a few extra touches here and there. And man, I'd say it came so well together. I'm really excited about this, guys. So from here forward, let's swap to the next day and let's put some fluids in this bad girl and put a tune in it and start this thing up. So without further ado, that means what we do is, well, I guess I will say, maybe we have the intake to do and maybe cut the hood, but at least getting the car running, we're gonna run it without an intake and without a hood, just because we can. So I'm gonna go ahead and get this in place. And all you need is to be higher than the highest point on the engine, and this will gravity feed everything in. Distilled water, 1 gallon, 1 gallon. Let's see if we're leaking. This is satisfying. All right, I'm gonna use the smallest funnel. And then what we're gonna add here is water wetter, which helps coolant stay cold, and it makes the wetting ability of the water waterer. It's pink. Whoa, fancy. All right, that's good enough for now for the first start. We'll need to put some 12 volt in there to pump some water. So once I get 12 volt, we'll be able to check that. Full. Now we've got oil to do. So I'm gonna grab my oil funnel and go from there. Pink coolant, purple oil. This is just such an ugly process. So the dipstick tube scared me because it's reading really high, but I put 7 quarts inside of it and it's a 7-quart oil pan. I just looked it up and everything's good. We got fluid in our power steering reservoir, fluid in our coolant reservoir for the supercharger, fluid in the radiator, and fluid in the engine. We got oil in that thing. Looks like fluids are all good to go, baby. And we can check off on fluids. And that makes a full, entire supercharge ready to go install. That is every single part installed, ready to go, minus the intake. I'll go ahead and pull that off so y'all don't have to look at that ugly thing anymore. Well, damn straight. This is it, guys. So now what's next to do is to pull the base tune off of the car. And once I get the base tune off of this pupper, send it off to Rustin. Rustin will hit me back with some good stuff and we'll be good to go. I wanted to show you a few things. The car's not yet ready to start because apparently I goofed up. And I wanted to tell y'all beforehand, in my hand, I have the base tune for the car and then also the proper spark plugs, because apparently I put colder plugs in, but I did not put cold enough. Because the way that these pulleys are set up, I have a 2.45 right here from Boost District, and then also an 8.6 pulley on the bottom side, in conjunction with stock idlers, and then just the upgraded heavy-duty tensioner. The belt will be a K80670HD, and then the plugs are going to be NGK BR7EFs. I put TR6s in it, and Rustin said, go ahead and throw a colder plug in there because you're going to be ripping on this thing. And he said BR7EF is definitely the colder plug that I should be using. So we got 8 of these bad boys, and we're going to take out the TR6s that we just installed and then install these. Don't mind this Xbox and iPad. I'm pretty sure Gavin is giving these away on a live stream for his birthday. So by the time you guys see this video, someone will probably already have won a Warzone dub and a Rocket League tournament on this thing and maybe doing some business on this thing. So get on Gavin's live streams on the It's Just a 6 channel. He's been doing live streams for members and those things have been going off. So if you haven't seen any of that stuff, that's what this is for. Don't mind that, that's not for my video. But the tune, let's go ahead and throw this thing in the car right now because might as well. I'm just putting the card physically inside of the ECU. All right, there we go.
So now whenever I turn the ignition on, I just have to swap the tune over whenever the Terminator turns on, and then once the tune's swapped over, I'll have a bass tune. Thank you very much to Rustin. Rustin at Riverside Racecraft literally texted that man, and within 24 hours, actually that night, the same exact night, he got me a tune done for this thing, which he's a business, so like getting stuff done that quick is awesome. So it's cool that he literally like stayed up late at night to get this tune done for me. So thank you very much, Rustin. Go check out Riverside Racecraft. He tunes my car. He tunes Sean's car. Sean's out here with one of the fastest stick shift Corvettes, and Rustin knows what the heck he's doing. I spent lots of nights with that dude talking BS and just talking about some race cars going faster, and I trust him tuning my car 100%. And he's the reason why my car is going to be going crazy. So that's Rustin at Riverside Racecraft tuning this thing. Without further ado, let's go ahead and take these plugs right here. And I believe these are gapped at 0.32. All right, guys. So I texted Rustin and I said, hey man, I just got these BR7EF plugs and they're still gapped at 0.023. And I've seen online that they're gapped at around 0.032 and 0.035. What should I set the gap to? This man replies with 0.016 or 0.018. So I was asking to gap it to 0.032 and he said to gap it to 0.016. So he said way less of a gap. He said that much gap is asking for a misfire. Definitely don't want that. So that means take these plugs and gap them down to 0.16 or 0.18. So luckily that man Gavin has the tools we need. He has a PQY spark plug gap tool, and this is the proper tool to gap your spark plugs. What you do is you put your plug inside like so, and our feeler gauge is 0.016. Put that in between and it will tighten your gap to exactly what you have it set to right there, and you tighten that. I'm gonna do that with two hands because it's worth doing with two hands. Sometimes it's good to use a little bit of organization while you're going halfway through. The whole table thing wasn't working out for me, so I said, you know what, I'll use this motion box, just poke some holes in it with the screwdriver and then just poke the spark plugs through. So now I have the ungapped plugs, the gapped plugs, and the old plugs that we're not using. So I'll throw these back in the boxes, relabel the boxes so that way those are good. And then these are the gapped plugs that are going in the car, and I still have to gap these ones. So let's get that done. I just wanted to show y'all, that's how you can organize using just a simple box. This is the Motion Raceworks throttle cable bracket box. Technically, this part came in this box, repurposing it for something else. So that's usually how it works. Thank you, Motion Raceworks. Just like that, all the plugs are done, ready to go. Throw these things in the car. Dude, intercooler pump working perfectly fine. Hell yes, dude. This is so cool. Ah! And if I pop this, that's the main water for this. And all that fluid just drains back in from gravity from here. I may fill this back up now that that pump's ran for a little bit. Actually, I'm gonna turn the pump back on. That's so cool. And it'll need more fluid as we go. All right, guys, so what we need to do is now that we have the ignition and the battery on and the tune inside the Terminator, we go to Global Configurations, PO LSA Terminator file. And we will upload this to the ECU right now. PO LSA Terminator. That's awesome. And there's the tune right there.
Dead and gone.
Done straight. Turn the ignition off and turn it back on. Oh my gosh, that's insane. Oh my goodness.
Just for gigs and shiggles, should we give her a start or is that dumb?
I'm gonna upload this one more time.
One more time.
Just in case it didn't do right the first time. You never can do it too many times. 4 seconds.
1, 2, 3, 4. All right.
Should we? What were you about to say?
I was gonna say go ahead. Look at
Shit. Are we doing it right now? I guess I can. All right, well, I guess I will attempt to turn it on then. No way! How's that bitch gonna turn on first try? What? What? Yeah, I got oil in it. Are we good? Any leaks? It's running. It's on right now! Whoa! Where's the leaks? Where's the leaks?
what color is it? So I mean, like, ain't nothing more to do than do it, right? Yo! Listen to the... Oh. I probably should be. Yeah.
All right, so I just turned the car on. Holy cow, it ran first start, first try. That's kind of crazy. That's a testament to freaking Mr. Roshan right there, who literally just turned that thing on real quick and made it happen. Holy cow. All right, so what I just did was made sure that the intercooler pump was running and the ignition in the car is on. This is the main power source for that, so whenever I flip that breaker on, there goes the intercooler pump. Power steering fluid definitely needs to be changed, so we need to put some more in there. There's a leak in the power steering area. Good news there too. So we have a leak at the top side of this fitting. We have a leak at the fuel fitting, and power steering could be topped off. Yeah! Give the world what they wanted to see. Coyote swap Camaro, LS swap Mustang.
Fix those and let's drive this thing tomorrow.
Essentially, that's how it goes.
That would be wild.
Yep. Stupid easy, stupid simple.
Yeah, glow.
No more hood. So essentially, we get in and turn it on, correct? Right up.
Fuel pressure's a lot better too now. Fuel pressure's better.
Really?
Yeah. I guess I'll kick it outside real quick. Where am I leaking? Any leaks?
A little bit of smoke, but it might just be from the residual where it was leaking.
It could be brake fluid from the master that leaked on the headers.
Yeah.
All right, I guess I'm gonna pull it out. Woo!
What?
Bro, it goes wow. Plus brakes. Oh, I'm not smoking everyone out. Holy crap! Hell yeah, brother!
That thing do be
Dude.
thing.
Damn,
Insane.
that's crazy. It's just like you bolt it on and it works.
It's actually just working that simple. That's wild.
It worked.
You Datalog it? Can we open the gate? Can we go down the road or what?
Yeah, let's go. Well, actually, wait one sec. I gotta look something up. My AFR says slow. Dead ass.
It's just letting you know what's up.
All right, guys, so the next up in the things that we have to do is change out the O2 sensor because it decided to go bad on us. So I went ahead and unplugged that there, and the stock O2 sensor is right there. We'll go ahead and unplug that too. You can use these, they're called LSU 4.9. All of them are the same, and you can spend $100 on this sensor, or you can spend $60 on this sensor, or $30. All of them do the same exact thing and take the same exact reading. And essentially, it's the same sensor. So let's pop this out. This will be the bad sensor. So let's put the new sensor in and we'll be good. All right, so here's the old sensor. As you can see, it's covered in soot and the new sensor is brand new, obviously. And that's gonna do us a lot better and probably give us a better reading that we're looking for there. So let's go ahead and get started on putting this in. All right, guys, so one thing that I've been needing to change on the car, and I will say the last part that I wanted to change on this thing, that was the most janky thing. It's been like this ever since I started putting the thing together with this first LS, is this motor mount right here. If you don't notice anything goofy about that, well, this is a 1 1/16 inch socket. And in fact, it's got a BH on it because that was my dad's call sign was BH, and he had etched it into this socket right here. So this socket was holding this engine mount on. I've got the thing lifted up and also held up in place over there by the header. So I should be able to take this bolt and just pop it out. But I have something that is gonna replace these goofy bushings I got with solid motor mounts. So let's go ahead and get those solid motor mount bolts in, as well as new bolts and hardware for these. I just gotta get this bolt out now. I gotta figure out the best way to do that. All right, so what I got going on here is kind of a little bit ghetto, but it doesn't matter, it works, it works. What we're gonna do is lift up on the engine right here from the last header bolt. And that should be good enough for us to be able to pop this bolt out from the motor mount. We just cut that bolt a little bit shorter so it can fit the starter. And that bolt is all the way out. So now the old motor mount bolt is out. So we just went ahead and pulled this motor mount out of its place, and now we're stuck with this. This is a bushing, and it's a bad one at that. It's a rubber bushing, and we want to replace those with solid ones because our transmission mount is solid. So since we have a solid transmission mount, we need solid engine mounts, which means we got to pop these rubber bushings out of place and put the new ones in place. All right, guys, so these are the old bushings right here. We just pulled those out, and we also pulled out the inner piece that sits inside of the bushings. So these sit inside of the K-member, obviously, and the K-member is just an empty tube, and those sit like this, and that is your mount. And then obviously the engine mount itself just hugs this piece, and as it hugs that piece, it's all good to go. However, we're now switching to solid mounts, and solid mounts changes up the game. So what we got to do here is just as simple as take these rubber pieces that are rubber and flimsy right here, and then we just put this piece inside. Simple as that. So from here on out, we're going to be no rubber motor mounts, and we're going to be solid bushings. Let's take the first piece. All right, that's in. And now we'll take the second piece, and that's in. It's solid motor mounts right there. Holy cow. This thing's look great. And compared to the other side, which yes is janky, is still a rubber side mount. This is what we're fixing it with. It's gonna be so much better than what it was before. So you know how when jobs get fun and then they're like, oh yeah, let me get started on it, and then halfway through it gets way harder than you initially anticipated? Well, we're there at that point right here, right now. So this engine mount is pretty much in, everything's good to go. I actually have the bolt backed out because I needed to get the other side. But in the process of getting the other side, that's the bolt. And if you could see, that's the header, and that's not coming out of there. That bolt's completely blocked by the header up there, so that thing's not coming out. So we have the steering shaft disconnected and all of the K-member bolts out. We are quite literally pulling out the K-member of this thing so we can get this to happen. If we can't get the engine lifted up because we got a supercharger up top, might as well lower down the K-member because it's really easy to do and it's a few bolts. The whole thing quite literally is that loose. So that means we should be able to pull this a little bit back, finagle it just enough. We got the bolt. We pushed the bolt through. I just gotta find it. Wow, okay, so it just took taking the whole entire K-member, and as you can tell, the whole K-member is able to move. But now we're to these rubber bushings, which have no room with the header on the other side. Now we can slap the aluminum ones in. All right, guys, the motor mounts are in and tight. Everything is in place, and on the other side, the motor mount is in tight and in place, and finally that looks freaking awesome. Plus they have aluminum billet bushings in there, so this car is gonna be pretty freaking rowdy now. I also got the K-member tightened up, everything's tight, the rack back in, and the car is back together. So with that being said, now all we have to do is finish up the last thing that we had to button up, and that is the steam vent. I don't know if you guys ever noticed, but on the steam vent kit, I basically just took it and capped it off. You're not supposed to do this, this is not allowed. So what you're supposed to do technically, tap it right into right below the radiator cap. I'm not really too good at welding aluminum, and I want to teach myself a little bit more before I start going crazy on radiators and stuff like that. So I did the next best thing. I went ahead and got this piece from Mishimoto for the top side radiator hose, as well as this piece right here from O'Reilly's. Put them two together with some Teflon tape. So the water goes from here to here and then rolls down the radiator. So what we're gonna do is take this, put this in line, get rid of this plastic coupler that we've got, use the aluminum one, which is 38 millimeters, and then use this to tie into this piece, if that makes any sense. So let's go ahead and just make that happen. First, we gotta drain the car of all of the coolant. All right, and judging by the water on the ground and the old gasket in my hand, I changed out the gaskets, so now we got new ones on there, and I went ahead and tightened everything, torqued it down to the right proper sequence. So hopefully we shouldn't have a leak there, but at the same time, these were also some cheap, goofy gaskets, so I might just have some better luck with the better gaskets that I got anyways. Let's put everything back together. It's time to turn this thing on and start recording with this thing. We got this here bleeder funnel in the radiator, and as soon as we get the car outside, the thermostat has to open up, and once it does, this will start bleeding. And since this is the highest point on the engine system, the water is all gonna bubble up to here. This, in theory, should put water all inside of the cooling system
system, and then we also have the steam vent, which drains the top of the engine, so we should have no air bubbles because that leads back here to the top of the radiator. So everything should bubble out right here, and we should have fluid everywhere, and this thing should be keeping good temperature. Let's go ahead and turn it on and make sure all the stuff that we just did is good. All right, now we should have 12 volts. And that's what the fuel pump should sound like. So we're gonna go ahead and start up our log and turn this thing on and put it outside.
All right, AFR says heating. Last time after it said heating, it just said slow. So if we have an AFR reading after it's warm, then we should be good. It still says slow. That is interesting. Yeah, that's gonna suck in fluid. Maybe I have to update my Terminator. I'll try that. All right. Hell yeah.
It's running.
Like a top, honestly. I wish the intake wasn't so loud. It's just a giant throttle body with no cover on it. I think I'm gonna do a 45 to like a 4.5 or 5 inch pipe. There's still a big filter right here probably. It's the only thing I really can do.
Fuck, this must be so dope, bro.
Dude, that's crazy.
That's good.
Just ring. All right, so coolant temps are looking at 179, which is beautiful. I love that. Everything looks to be great. Everything I checked for in a car. So I guess now the only thing I gotta figure out is why the AFR is saying that. If I had to guess, it's probably because my Terminator's out of date and Rustin's shit's probably up to date. So he sent me an up-to-date tune that I put on an old ECU. So I probably need to update the Terminator.
So now's the time in the video where we're going to Holly's page and going to technical support, getting the newest SD card components. If you're watching this video in the future, maybe it'll be something maybe like V4 or 5 or whatever it could be. But right now it's V3 card components, and I'm overwriting the SD card with all those card components, basically taking everything that was on there and deleting it, taking the new files, putting them on there, and then after that, I'll take my tune file and drag it onto the SD card, so the car will be completely updated. All right, so here's the tune file Rustin made for me. Poe got an LSA time to play, and we're going to drag that into saved GCFs. And now that's in saved GCF, and I'm gonna go ahead and open this up in the Terminator software real quick. Firmware update completed. Remove SD, reboot device. Upgrade ECU and calibration to V3. Don't mind if I do. We are starting the update right now. Initializing, bam. So from here, I just floor it once, floor it twice, press next, and then auto set successful. That's just setting the throttle position essentially. And then from here, I go to global configurations and then upload to ECU, the Holly Terminator file. Poe got an LSA, time to play. That's the tune file Rustin sent over. So we're gonna go ahead and see if maybe since my Terminator was a V2 and he upgraded it on like the most recent software because he obviously tunes these things all the time, maybe mine was just out of date, which is why I had the problems I had. All right, now we're back on again. I'm gonna try this thing out again. It started up way faster. All right, battery voltage at 14 is not bad. Coolant temp at 132 is not bad. And then boost at -5, we're in vacuum right now, which is not bad. So we basically have to wait for this AFR gauge to say heating and then give us a reading. And if it does, we're good. And if it says slow, then I got more research to do. And it still says slow. Now I just have no clue. Oh, I
think I found the problem, and I've been trying to figure it out for so dang long. So my O2 sensor said slow in caps, and I want to show you something. If you didn't know that this is a thing, let me teach you a thing, because someone might have this problem in the future and thank me. If your O2 sensor ever says slow, you might have a ground issue. And the first place I went ahead and checked was the wire harness on everything. And I was like, well, might as well check it all out and make sure we're doing good, and pulled on all these wires, and I'll make it easy for y'all. Okay, I saw this ground, and I had pulled on it, and I found out that this ground is completely loose. So this will cause our problem, and this will cause an O2 sensor to not work. Obviously, if it has no ground, it can't do anything. So let's go ahead and connect this wire back up to where it should go, and we should be good in theory. Let me test that out. Let me fix this and then go from there. All right, guys, I just had to go to my house and grab some tools, but I went ahead and got this thing together, and now, as you can tell, if I try and pull on this thing, that wire is not coming out. So we have a good connection there. Let's go ahead and try this. I want to get this AFR red. And if this was our problem, that saves me a lot, because there was a chance that the Terminator was fried if it wasn't this. So let's hope it's this. Now it's moment of truth. I got the new O2 plugged in, sensors right there. Everything should be out of the way. I'm gonna go ahead and turn it on and see if we get an AFR reading for the first time, which would be fabulous if so. And for the first time, it finally has an O2 reading. All right, I am data logging right now. So that was it. The O2 sensor apparently just had a ground issue, which is pretty simple to fix, but it was a little bit of a tedious diagnosis, but at least we got it and we're good.
This has been quite a long time coming.
Dude, goodness gracious, this is like, you surprised me with the Supercharger. Thank you so freaking much, dude. This is like the surprise like to life, dude. Could not have done this without you. Thank you. Let's freaking take a ride.
I couldn't do many things in my life without Mustang first drive. Holy shit.
Okay. All right, let's do this.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my lord. First off, that fuel pump, something serious.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I didn't even think about that. I'm thinking about so many different other things.
Yeah.
Dude.
First off, I guess we'll just do it. If it's free.
So we're logging?
We're logging, yep.
Dang.
Dude, is it actually driving?
It's driving good, actually.
Hell yeah, Rustin. Dude. I'm driving a supercharged car right now down the road. Hell yeah, brother. We're supercharged right now. What?
Yeah, this is actually epic.
Oh my gosh.
This is pretty sick.
Oh, I'm kind of scared to get it in a boost. He said I should be able to go what, in theory? Reading AFRs, AFRs look solid. They're at 13 right now.
Yeah. You can hear it from up here. That is so crazy.
That's so beautiful, dude. Oh my gosh.
There you go.
This is my first boosted car, bro. Like, I've never experienced anything of the sort.
Back. She got some pep in it.
Dude.
Oh my gosh. Dude, you can hear it so audibly.
Alright, is my fuel pressure going down as I add? Alright.
Where's fuel pressure?
Bottom left, okay. Bottom left. Hey, you love my alignment.
Yep, going down.
Okay. AFRs look beautiful though. They went down to 12 as I give it more throttle. As soon as it hits boost, AFRs hit 12.
That is fucking sick, dude.
Hell yeah. Dude, Brembos?
Oh, damn, they stopped.
They
bro.
locked up.
You actually about got this thing like really ready to go. Bro.
My car's supercharged now, dog. Thank you so freaking much.
Bro, what the hell? I'm actually shook it too.
And all it was just AFRs. It probably would have been fine, but
yeah.
I needed to know that it was fine. Darn straight. And it's at 173 degrees. She's dialed, dude.
That's actually crazy as fuck.
I'm gonna stop logging and I'll send this to Rustin and I'll have a revision probably soon.
And today is the day. We get to drive that thing.
Dude, we got to drive that thing. You're gonna drive this thing soon, dude. Oh my gosh. It's faster.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
no, it's definitely way faster.
It's pretty quick.
I didn't even think to comment on that. It's way faster.
I didn't even floor it, dude. And it was already like flooring an A. That's pretty crazy. Dude, thank you so much, brother. Dude.
Thank you for all the help and the hard work whenever we need it. I really do appreciate it.
Dude, it's a team effort. Hell yeah. I didn't think it would be like that.
It is exactly like that. And all you gotta do is get that Datalog sent off. You'll probably be able to rip this thing within a week or so. You'll be able to take it to the track this weekend if you wanted to.
Yeah. There's a drift car to do it with now. That's crazy. Hell yeah. Goodness. So what I've done since last time you guys have seen me is tighten up power steering fittings because we had a small leak there. I just had to tighten up the fitting that was down here. I took the belts off and tighten all the lines and all that fun stuff. But got new fluid in there, and now we should be able to turn the car back on, and it should suck down some fluid right here. The cap is here, so I can't forget about that. I'm gonna put that where it won't fall, and go ahead and turn the car on and get it outside. Because in theory, we should be able to do that. But I actually wanted to change something. My fuel pressure regulator is right there, and I want to change my fuel pressure. All right, so now that my fuel pump is alive, we're gonna go to logging.
So at this moment in time, I was about to go film a data log for the car because I was told I can finally make a wide open throttle pass. However, the GoPro, as soon as I was going to start the data log, decided to turn off and I couldn't get it to turn back on. It froze completely. I was just like, you know what? I'll just not record this data log because it's just a simple data log. I'll come back and I'll be able to do more. However, the first time I went wide open, the car went bzzz, pop, which means the brand new crate engine that I just put in this thing that had less than 1,000 miles on it is no longer is what we think, but I just wanted to update you because I didn't get the freaking data log on film. I'm so sad about that, but at least I did get this.
I just did a pull on it, full speed, first time I was able to do it, and it popped. And now it makes a sound that we don't like to see.
Well guys, she lasted 5 pulls, and pretty sure we just hit a fuel cut. We haven't looked at the data log yet, we'll do that together. The motor is gone. The brand new motor I just put in, the crate engine, yeah, let me tell you about that.
So we're looking at the car, trying to figure out what's going on with this thing, and yeah, I blew it up. Pretty simple, plain and yeah. And yeah, technically, we're gonna figure out. Y'all stay tuned to see if it is blown up or not, because we'll take it apart. But
basically, what happened is, as you guys can see, there's a regulator here for the fuel pressure. The regulator line was in fact hooked up to the supercharger, but it was hooked up on the vacuum side. So instead of adding fuel pressure, it was taking away fuel pressure. The higher the RPM.
so essentially meaning, whenever there was more RPM, there was more vacuum, opening up the fuel pressure regulator. So we think I have had a fuel cut, which means I think I blew up my engine on the 5th pull. Stay tuned to see how that goes. So I guess we'll go from there. All right, guys, so this next part of the video is the part where we are now outside because we have a hood that no longer fits on our car, and we got to do something about that. So I have this here I have this here electric wrench and a 9mm socket, and we're gonna go ahead and pull the hood scoop off, and we're pretty much just gonna cut out everything inside of the hood scoop, to be honest. The hood scoop should now pop off. And it pops right off. That's nice. So I'll put that gently to the side, and now we've got a spot where I can cut out with the LSA. That makes it easy for me. So basically I need to cut out a good perimeter. I'll go ahead and mark it with the pen.
It really just depends on how far out the LSA sticks. I think it sticks further than that. Now, if you guys can see here, we got 4 good holes. All we got to do now is just connect the dots. So I've got a hole cut. I need to measure to 21 inches, and that is going to be my line because I just measured on the car. That's how far out the hood needs to be. And we need to get to right about there, which honestly, it looks like the hood scoop's still gonna clear. All right, so I'm gonna cut out that bolt and we're gonna go from there. Now I just took the honeycomb piece outside of the grill. All right guys, so we got this thing cut out, and it looks like if you cut out a stock Mustang GT hood and want an LSA to fit under there, you can make it happen. And I've even got the adapters because this is a 5.3, so this thing's sitting up pretty high on there. And it still fits under the stock hood if, and this is a big asterisk, if you cut it out and have a GT hood scoop. If you have the GT hood scoop, you can take the hood and cut out this little honeycomb piece. I actually drilled holes in this a long time ago to make it actually like useful. But now I'm gonna take that scoop and take all these bolts and line them up in their place. And now we have, it looks like a hood scoop with an LSA. That's insane. Holy cow, guys. That looks good. Oh my goodness. It's a working hood scoop. Oh, the flash is on? Oh man, that's so cool. You could just see the lid in there, and that means the lid's gonna get some really good at cooling whenever I'm going fast. That'll be great for actual performance. That's freaking sick.